Merhabalar. İktidarın uzunca bir süredir gündeminde bulunan sosyal medya düzenlemesi meclise geldi. Yüz binlerce web sitesinin, haberin, paylaşımın yasaklı olduğu, sosyal medya kullanıcılarının gözaltına alınıp tutuklandığı Türkiye'de yeni yasaklar ve sansür uygulamaları kapıda. İktidar Türkiye'nin İstanbul Sözleşmesi'nden çekilmesini tartışa dursun, kadınlar öldürülmeye devam ediyor. Yılbaşından bu yana 118 kadın erkekler tarafından katledildi. İstanbul Sözleşmesi'nin öngördüğü koruma tedbirlerinin uygulanmasındaki ihmaller, kadın örgütleri tarafından yıllardır dile getirilirken, sözleşmeden çekilmenin yaratacağı yıkıcı sonuçlar ayan beyan ortada. Her hafta olduğu gibi yine sizler için Türkiye'nin ifade özgürlüğü gündemini özetledik. İşte bu haftanın öne çıkanları.
The Justice and Development Party and the Nationalist Movement Party presented their 9-article law draft on social media regulations to the Parliament. According to the regulation that is planned to be enacted before the parliamentary recess, foreign-based social network providers with more than 1 million access daily will have to assign at least one representative in Turkey who is authorized to fulfill the orders and notices issued by judicial or administrative authorities. Otherwise, its internet traffic will be restricted from 50% to 95% of its current bandwidth.
Social media platforms will have to contain their users' data in Turkey. Social network providers who don't remove the content or ban access against the content despite an order against within 24 hours will also be responsible for the compensation of possible damages. So in case the content isn't removed, not only those who produce the content, but also those who allow its broadcast and publication will also be penalized.
Information and Communications Authority will be able to examine or assign some other body to examine whether servers are fulfilling their responsibilities when it sees necessary.
15 Temmuz darbe girişiminin ardından ilan edilen ve iktidarın bu süreçte hükümet sistemini dahi değiştirdiği o halin ilk ilanının üzerinden 4 yıl geçti. O hal döneminde inşa edilen Türk tipi başkanlık sisteminin de 2. yılı geride kaldı.
President Erdogan spoke at the Presidential Governmental System 2-year evaluation meeting, saying that relations between execution, legislation and the judiciary are being even more clarified in the new system. Don't we have any deficiencies? Isn't there anything that's not working properly? As with every change, these will also take time, Erdogan said. Referring to the decree on Hagia Sophia, the president also stated, "Of course, this government system is a dynamic system that allows for all sorts of changes to be quickly made when there is a need and necessity for them."
O hal tedbirleri bu süre içerisinde adım adım kalıcılaştırılırken o hal rejimi de olağan rejim haline getirildi. Nasıl mı? Sadece küçücük bir örneğe bakmak yeterli olacak.
The meeting and demonstration ban that is ongoing in Van since November 21st, 2016 was extended for another week by Van Governorate based on national safety and public order, and this time also based on the pandemic.
Yani Van'da o hal döneminde uygulamaya başlanan yasak neredeyse 4 yıldır sürüyor. Anayasal güvence altındaki temel bir hak idare tarafından sistematik bir şekilde ihlal edilirken bunun adı sürekli o hal değilse de nedir? Hadi bir de ceza yargılamalarının hal ve gidişine bakalım. Türk Ceza Kanunu'nun 299 ve 301. maddeleri kapsamında açılan davaların sayısı Cumhurbaşkanlığı hükümet sisteminin 2. yılında katlanarak artmış durumda.
The number of those being sued and penalized in accordance with Article 299 of the Turkish Criminal Code that regulates the charge of insulting the president, as well as Article 301, which regulates the charge of denigration of the Turkish nation, the government of the Republic of Turkey, as well as governmental institutions, has increased greatly. The number of those facing lawsuits at the end of 2018, when the presidential government system has just started, was 6,326. This number has increased to 13,990 at the end of 2029. The number of lawsuits has multiplied 21 times in the last 10 years. According to the judicial statistics of the Ministry of Justice in 2019, 13,252 public lawsuits were filed within these two articles, which are under the charges that are against the sovereignty of the state and the reputation of its bodies. criminal courts have issued 4,291 convictions, 1,970 acquittals, 4,394 deferrals of verdict, and concluded 12,474 cases.
Bu hafta farklı kesimlerden, farklı geçmişlerden, farklı siyasal çizgilerden gelen 101 aksaçlı isim ortak bir çağrı yayınladı. Hepimiz tehdit altındayız. Topyekün tehdit ancak topyekün karşı koyuşla bertaraf edilir.
The call summarized Turkey's situation today and emphasized that all oppositional forces must meet in a democratic alliance as soon as possible in order to achieve a just and free society. The call was made separately for the government and the opposition, with heavy criticism towards both.
101 grey-haired elders called out to young people and said, "We bind our hopes into you. Get over the divisions, hostilities, and fake borders between each other. Unite, raise your voice. It's time to protect our freedom, our lifestyle, our earnings. It's time to demand our rights. The light of tomorrow is in your hands, and we, the grey-haired elders, want to see that light alive."
24 Temmuz sansürün kaldırılışının yıl dönümü. Ancak gazeteciler ve basın meslek örgütleri tarihlerinde önemli bir dönemeç olan 24 Temmuz'u 10 yıllardır bayram olarak kutlamıyor. Çünkü ikinci meşrutiyetin ilanının üzerinden geçen 112 yılda çok şey de değişmedi. Gazeteciler yine düşünceleri, haberleri, yazıları nedeniyle hedefte. Gözaltına alınıyor, tutuklanıyor, işten çıkartılıyorlar. Davalar, soruşturmalar, yayın yasakları hiç eksik olmuyor. RTÜK, Basın İlan Kurumu, BTK, iktidarın yeni sansür memurları.
According to the data compiled by the Republican People's Party's Istanbul Parliament member, Sezgin Tanrıkulu, 721 journalists were arrested between the years 2002 and 2019. 93 journalists are still deprived of their freedom in prison. At least 19 journalists, writers and publishers were sentenced to imprisonment, and at least 52 journalists were detained in the first 6 months of 2020.
According to the data shared by the Republican People's Party's Deputy Chair Gamze Akkuş İlgezdi, there were 51,843 press workers in 2013, and it decreased by 30% in the last 7 years. According to the data by the Turkish Statistical Institute, 15,580 press workers were left unemployed between the years 2013 and 2019, 4,892 of which were fired after the transition into the presidential system. 137 newspapers were shut down during the Turkish-type presidential period.
Bu arada iktidar gazetecileri hedefe koymaya da hiç ara vermiyor. Cumhurbaşkanlığı İletişim Başkanı'na göre eleştirel gazetecilikle demokrasi düşmanlığı yapılıyor.
Presidential Communications Chairman Fahrettin Altan spoke at the workshop to improve press members' rights organized in Ankara and emphasized the national and local media. He claimed that criticisms against the ruling power in the media are an operation against Turkey's development, its diplomatic victories, and its determined stance against the unfair system of the world, as well as against the elected president.
Gelelim haftanın diğer öne çıkan başlıklarına.
Businessman and rights advocate Osman Kavala has left 1,000 days behind bars. His friends launched a video and said, "Speak up against it."
The first hearing of the lawsuit filed against arrested journalist Aziz Oruç due to illegal organization membership and making illegal organization propaganda was held. The journalist wasn't released in the first hearing. He stood trial after 7 months under arrest.
Journalist Deniz Yücel has been sentenced to 2 years, 9 months and 22 days of imprisonment due to making illegal organization propaganda through 2 different articles published on Die Welt Daily, and was acquitted of the charge of public incitement towards resentment and hostility. However, the prosecutor's office claimed a penalty against journalist Deniz Yücel based on the charge he was acquitted of. The prosecutor appealed the verdict and claimed that Yücel has incited the public towards resentment and hostility with the expression, "the massacre against the Armenians," in Yücel's article. An indictment was prepared against Democratic Regions Party's former co-chair Sabahat Tuncel due to insulting the president through a speech he gave to protest the detainment of Diyarbakir co-mayors in 2016.
A new investigation was started against People's Democratic Party's former co-chair Figen Yüksekdağ. Yüksekdağ is charged due to her Twitter post in 2014 and the speech she gave after the arrest of Diyarbakır co-mayors in 2016.
Diyarbakır 10th Criminal Court of First Instance sentenced 32 Confederation of Public Workers Unions members to 48 years of imprisonment in total due to violating the law on meetings and demonstrations number 2911. The penalty wasn't abated due to the public workers' lack of remorse during the prosecution, and the verdicts were not deferred.
Police intervened against those wanting to hold a march and press statement in Istanbul and Ankara to commemorate those losing their lives in the human bomb attack in Suruç on July 2015. Many people were detained in both commemoration, with the police using violence during detainments. Lawyers going to the police station to see their clients after the detainment in the commemoration in Istanbul were also beaten and detained.
The police attacked women wanting to hold a march in Izmir with the call of the Women Are Stronger Together platform for Pınar Gültekin, who was killed in Muğla. Women protesting the murder were dragged on the floor by the police and were beaten. 12 people were detained. People passing by and journalists wanting to record visuals of the violent intervention of the police were also threatened by the police with detainment.
A citizen, Süleyman Yu, who resides in Buldan district of Denizli, was detained with the allegation of insulting the president on a social media post and was arrested by the court. He was taken to duty insulting a public officer on duty as well as the president.
Mardin Second Administrative Court denied the lawsuit filed for the reversal of the Interior Ministry decree that appointed a trustee at Mardin Metropolitan Municipality. The court claimed that the investigations opened against Ahmet Türk were on his duty and defended the decree by saying his conviction is possible.
Ankara 4th Administrative Court suspended the execution of the 5-day blackout penalty issued by the Radio and Television Supreme Council against Televan due to it being directly against press freedom and the citizens' freedom of information.
A Netflix Turkey project, Şimdiki Aklım Olsaydı, was cancelled by Netflix one day before the shootings began. It was stated that the LGBTI character in the series was taken out from the script after the intervention of the Radio and Television Supreme Council on the screenplay, and the production was cancelled nevertheless. Netflix announced that the Turkish authorities have stated that the homosexual character must have been taken out of the script for a license to be issued. The project's creator and screenwriter Ece Yörent stated, "It is frightening for the future that the shootings for a series is not permitted now due to a gay character."
Writer Aytekin Yılmaz announced that he was invited to the program of İsmail Saymaz, but the program, which was shot and ready for broadcast, couldn't be broadcasted with the worry of the Radio and Television Supreme Council. The statement made by Yılmaz on his own social media account stated that the reason isn't convincing.
The local court denied the application for retrial made in accordance with the decree of violation issued by the European Court of Human Rights for People's Democratic Party's former co-chair Selahattin Demirtas, who was convicted due to a speech he gave on Roche TV in 2005 as he was the Human Rights Association Diyarbakır chairman.
Diyarbakır 5th Assize Court claimed that the deferral of announcement of the verdict isn't of the quality of a finalized decree, that the stage of prosecution is ongoing. Thus, the court also neglected a European Court of Human Rights decree. Following the denial at the High Court, the file was carried to the Constitutional Court.
Bir haftayı daha böylece ardımızda bırakıyoruz. Haftaya tekrar görüşmek dileğiyle. Hoşça kalın.